Welcome to the Rewards Master. Today I want to share some information from a live stream that I did a while back that kind of compares between high spenders and low spenders and what is the best strategy involving sign-up bonuses and whether or not multipliers really matter. Now, of course, this is going to be very specific to certain situations, and indeed, everybody's own spending habits are going to be very different. There will be people who can have very high spend and still hit a lot of sign-up bonuses. There will be people who have lower spend and maybe they don't want to do a lot of sign-up bonuses and maybe they're trying to garden or something like that. And so they're going to care about their multipliers. But really, the information was about whether or not a person cares about multipliers or not, or whether they should go all in simply on sign-up bonuses. So I hope it's helpful to you. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and let me share this information. Spending versus signups. Do high spenders have unlimited travel? And where this comes from for me is a big debate in the points and miles community. And that debate is whether or not multipliers even matter. Should a person just be constantly getting sign-up bonuses and not even worry about the multipliers? And kind of the conventional wisdom, well, it only matters if you spend a whole lot of money on cards. And I'm going to concede, I think it matters more the more money you spend on a credit card or on credit cards in general. But do multipliers matter? Because why are we even talking about all this stuff if it's just only wise for people to just churn through new cards over and over and over and over? And don't get me wrong, I'm not giving any hate to the churners. I am a churner. I have gotten probably 7 new cards this year, and I'm up in the 400,000+ point range of card sign-up bonuses this year. So that's me. I do it. I'm not saying not to do that, but I'm asking the simple question is, do multipliers really matter? And I thought we could do a little experiment. So I did some math, put it down here. We're going to see how it goes. I broke it down on several spending levels. I found out what the average take-home pay is for different income levels. So I'm starting at $60,000 a year. A person who makes $60,000 a year, that's $4,120 a month would be the average take-home pay after taxes and Social Security and all that stuff. $100,000 a year would be $6,083 in take-home pay on average. $150,000 a year would be $8,742 in take-home pay. Now, the reason this is important is because you only can spend on your credit card based upon your take-home pay. And we're going to have to break that down further because not everything is able to be spent on a credit card as of now. Now, if Bill adds mortgages, or maybe if you're using the Mesa card or something like that, and I didn't factor that in, so we'll talk about it. But then I thought, well, I got to include the self-employed or reimbursed people. Now, what I mean by reimbursed is, like, there are times like I mentioned, I take friends and I'll buy the hotel rooms. They're reimbursing me. There are a lot of people who are reimbursed for a lot more money than they make or that they could spend. In other words, because their job, I know salespeople who can take clients out to dinner 3 or 4 times a week, spend $1,000 a week, turn in those receipts to their company, and they get reimbursed. That is a lot of spend. Even though they may not make the kind of money that would be a person that would spend that much, they have the spending power. There are a lot of people who get reimbursed, or they own a small business. I have family members who own a small business who spend between $20,000 and $50,000 a month. And they're not rich people. They just own a business. And so I think it's important that we include them here. So self-employed or reimbursed, and this was the assumption that I'm making here, spend $150,000 on their cards per year. And that may sound like a lot, but I really don't think it is. I think there are lots of people who can spend $150,000 on their cards. And they don't even have to make $150,000, some of them. But some do, of course, and make much more than that. But still, that'd be $12,500 a month. So this little experiment that I'm doing is based upon, since I'm most familiar with Citi and American Airlines, I did a little search, and I looked at 10 different routes that I take often because we go see family, we go see friends, and we go on little trips to, we go to New York several times a year, stuff like that. So, well, at least once a year. And those are our regular routes. So I did an experiment, and I ran random dates to the places we often go. And what I found is, on average, between American Airlines, and I also included some Alaska, American and Alaska, because Alaskas are on American and their points are really good too. It, on average, would cost 11,000 points for a one-way within the United States. 11,000 points. So, all right, I decided to go in opposite order. So number 4, this big spender, because the question is, I think we all know the multipliers are important at that top end, right? But the question is at what point do multipliers not really matter anymore? Well, at this person who's got $150,000 in spend on a card, which I said, I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. I think a lot of people have this, okay? So $12,500 per month. I'm assuming $5,500 per month in non-card spending. So we're meaning mortgage, rent, card payments, stuff like that. And that's pretty high, really. But, you can have a $4,000 mortgage, $3,000 mortgage, whatever, some card payments, stuff like that. Debt payments, student loans, whatever. So I'm figuring $5,500. So that leaves $7,000 in card spending. My assumption is, and like I said, I'm going off of Citi. A person can do this with Citi. A person can get a lot of cards and in the right combination, get a lot of 5% categories with custom caches. So $1,500 a month at 5 points per dollar. Okay, that's my assumption. And maybe you're averaging the Citi nights and all of that is 7,500 points a month. So dining, gas, grocery, stuff like that. And then $1,500 a month at 3 points per dollar because you're using either the Strata or the Strata Premier on other categories is the assumption. And that would be 4,500 points. And $4,000 a month at 2 points per dollar, which is 8,000 points. Now, a person could really go higher than this because if they're spending $150,000 and they're getting reimbursed, maybe they're taking clients out to eat and they're spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month on restaurants. I mean, that's possible. Or they're getting reimbursed on hotels, or they're getting you never know how this is going to break out. So I just had to make guesses here. That would be a total of 20,000 points a month, 240,000 points a year, divided by that 11,000 point average for American and Alaska flights. That would mean this person would get 22 free one-way flights per year. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of paid for travel. I mean, 22 flights a year? So that means as a solo, they're going on 11 trips by themselves, and it's all paid for by just, now remember, this is not their sign-up bonuses. This is just their everyday spending, their regular spending, 22 one-way flights a year. So I think everybody can agree that's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. So what about moving down or up the ladder, I guess we might say, the $150,000 income. So this person's not getting reimbursed for a lot. They just make a good salary of $150,000, which is a take-home pay of about $742 a month. I'm assuming $4,000 a month in non-card spending, card payments, debts, things like their mortgage, stuff like that, which would leave basically $4,700 in card spending. That's $1,500. Again, we're going to say $1,500 in 5 points per dollar. That's 7,500 points. 1,000 in 3 points per dollar. That's 3,000 points. And 2,200 at 2 points per dollar. That's 4,400 points, which is a total of 14,900 or 178,800 points per year. This person at the 11,000 average is going to get 16 one-way flights. So as a solo traveler, the other guy who spent $150,000 is getting 22 one-way flights. So he's getting 11 trips out of the deal. This guy's getting 8 trips out of the deal. That's still pretty stout. So it's still pretty stout. So let's move down again. 100,000. So this is a guy who just crests over the six figure in his income. But take-home pay, that's about $6,083 a month. Let's assume $3,500 a month in non-card spending. So he's spending that on his mortgage and car payments and student loans, all that kind of stuff you can't put on a credit card, which $2,600 is left in card spending. So that's $1,100 at 5 points per dollar. That's 5,500 points on the 5 points per dollar category. 2,100 in the 3 points. That's $700. And then I left him $800. So this guy's spending much more at the top end than the others were because he has less spend overall. And so that's 1,600. That's a total of 9,200. That's 110,400 points per year divided by that 1,100. That is basically rounded up. It's 10 one-way flights per year. So this guy who makes 100 grand based upon his everyday spending is still getting 5 round trips. 5. Now let's get even more real here. $60,000 a year pre-tax means that after tax, on average, $4,120 a month. We're assuming $2,500 per month in non-card spend. Some may have less, some may have more. We're assuming $1,600 then in card spending. That is $950 at 5 point per dollar. And this, of course, a person who's trying to maximize. $300 at 3 points per dollar is $900. So we had $4,750, $900, and then $350 at 2 points per dollar is $700. That's a total of 6,350 points per month, 76,200 points per year, which based upon an 11,000 point average on American or Alaska, that's still at 7 one-way flights. So this guy's getting 3.5 round trips per year who only makes $60,000 a year and just does his regular spending. So that's what I wanted to ask about. And my conclusion, and I'd love to hear y'all's comments. I know some comments have come in. My conclusion is multipliers do matter. They do. And so if a guy can get 7 one-way flights on 60,000, which isn't 60,000 take home, just by trying to maximize his spending through, in this case, Citi and American Airlines, then I think we have to conclude that multipliers, pretty much at every end of the spectrum, multipliers matter. They matter. And I was kind of surprised to find this out because I kind of assumed that when you got down in that 60,000 range, you would have to get way up over 100,000 for it to really make much of a difference. Now, I understand somebody's going to argue, yeah, but he would get a lot more by getting sign-up bonuses. No argument on that. I mean, that's absolutely true. But just the statement that the multipliers don't matter, I don't think that's true. They do matter because to me, 7 flights is something. I mean, that's something.
So I hope this was helpful to you as you try to determine if you should focus on multipliers. And the truth is, a lot of people shouldn't because sign-up bonuses overall are going to give you a lot more points. But some people are at the point where they have enough spend to do the sign-up bonuses and then a lot of spend beyond that. Are you that person? Then multipliers might really matter. But if you're not, maybe you should just not even worry about does the card get 3x on this or 2x or 4x or whatever it may be. And you should just go all in on getting new cards. Well, that's really up to you to decide. You know, your miles may vary and it's going to look different for everybody and everybody should have a different strategy. I hope it's been helpful to you. Please consider my channel membership, $2.99 a month. I do special release videos just for channel members every single week. Also early release my videos for my channel members. So you can look at that at the join button or in the link below. And also, if you would, please hit the like and subscribe button. That helps out a ton. I appreciate you, and I'll see you here next time.